We're going to go ahead and get started. And hopefully, I know that Commissioner Boyce is on his way, so he'll be joining us in progress. Thank you so much for your patience. Good afternoon, Commissioner Brown. I am Deputy County Administrator Tina Smith. Welcome, everyone. On March 15th of this year, Governor Mike DeWine and Ohio Department of Health, Dr. Amy Atkin, ordered all bars and restaurants dining rooms closed in response to the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. This action was followed on March 15th with the closure of barbershops, hair salons, and more neighborhood level retail establishments. On March 22nd, Dr. Atkin announced Ohio's stay-at-home order was now in effect. The impact on our local businesses was a staggering economic injury, especially our non-essential small, minority, and women-owned businesses. Today's listening session provides a platform for these business owners, our residents, to share directly with our commissioners their lived experiences managing through this unprecedented time. From their experiences with the Paycheck Protection Program to how they may have pivoted their businesses to survive, to their current needs and hopes for the future. Commissioners, you immediately understood these circumstances could be devastating to the most vulnerable segment of our economy, to this most vulnerable segment of our economy. Under your leadership, county administration, through our Economic Development and Planning Agency, has responded quickly, delivering over $5 million in financial aid in just 90 days to our small business owners through our local CDFI and not-for-profit organizations. Later on, you will hear from Jim Schimmer, Director of Economic Development and Planning, about more of these timely and much-needed programs. Information and stories from this listening session, the first of 3, will help inform policy decisions going forward. The arc of economic injury caused by COVID-19 may be long, and we will be ready as we suspect more aid may be needed. And we cannot forget about those businesses who may be managing through the unexpected damage or expenses they incurred from vandals under the cover of the recent community protest. Today, you'll hear from 5 diverse small business owners whose stories are our priority. We'd also like to provide some context. So we've invited Dr. Bill Lafayette to provide an economic level set, and we will hear perspective through the lens of 2 local entrepreneurial support organizations. As we go through the program, commissioners, please feel free to ask questions and comments. We have made time for that, of course. And to those who are listening, we ask that you mute yourself and please keep yourself muted. And please use the chat feature for any questions that you may have. We will try to get to as many of those questions as we can. We are having a late start today. So those questions that we miss, we will post to the Small and Emerging Business website as well as the EDP website. And Commissioner Brown, I'd like to pause and ask if you'd care to make any comments at this time before we get started.
Thank you, Kina. And I think I would like to just welcome everybody here. I know you've been challenged, and we're here to listen more than we are to talk. And I'm anxious to hear from all of you and really hear what you're going through and really get a sense of how we go forward. I know my colleagues are very interested in hearing how we go forward together. And it's going to take all of us working together to do whatever this community needs. And your sector is one that we all need to work together in, because it's a tough sector in good times. And what you're going through is something we need to hear about. And I'm hoping we get started with Bill Lafayette giving an overview, and then hear from all of you. So I'm here to listen and to hear what we all need to know so that we can move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Now we'll turn to Bill.
Well, thank you, everybody. Good afternoon, and thanks for having me in. I'm Bill Lafayette. I own Regionomics, which is a Columbus-based economic and workforce strategy firm. There is a whole lot that we don't yet know about the status of the Central Ohio economy since the economy was locked down in March. The most recent figures that we have on employment and unemployment locally are as of April, and we get state and local estimates for May a week from Friday. Now, let me share my screen and I'll show you what we know as of now. So this chart shows the course of total employment in the local area, the Columbus metropolitan area, which is in blue, and Ohio, which is in purple, and the US, which is in black, since January 2010, which is when the economy started growing after the recession. Ohio employment as of April is at its lowest level since August 1988. We in Central Ohio aren't quite that bad off. We've obliterated nearly all of our gain over the last 10 years, but we're still a little better than we were when we came out of the last recession. Columbus MSA employment in May or April declined 145,400 or 13% in 1 month to 968,000. Ohio employment fell 14.9%, and US employment was down 13.5% as of April. More than Columbus, but less than Ohio. May employment estimates, as you probably saw, for the US were released last Friday. Payroll employment, which is the number of jobs, increased 2.5 million. To put that number in perspective, it's been 20 years since employment increased more than 2.5 million in an entire year. However, that 2.5 million job increase is the teeny tiny uptick that you see at the far right of the chart. That huge May increase made back 12% of the almost 21 million jobs that were lost in April. So let me stop screen sharing. I'm cumbersome at this. Oh, never mind. Every industry sector except government was off sharply in Central Ohio in April. Government, though, lost 3.3%, which was absolutely enormous for that very stable sector. Leisure and hospitality fell almost 47,000, 45% in a single month, which accounted for nearly a third of the total decline. Other services, which includes repair services, barbershops, beauty parlors, and dry cleaners, lost 13,000 or 31%. Business services and education and health services lost more than 17,000 each. Construction lost 8,100, but that amounted to 17.6% of that very small sector. Now, most of these sectors recovered some of their lost ground nationally in May, and we can expect the same thing to happen here, but we have a very long way to go. We have no numbers on this yet, but it's clear that small businesses are bearing the brunt of the impact. Small businesses obviously don't have the deep pockets that large businesses have, and small businesses don't have the same access to capital markets that large businesses have. Now, this is a problem for the broader Central Ohio economy because locally owned, locally serving businesses track spending that would otherwise flow to headquarters operations far outside of Central Ohio. And the loss of these businesses would change our community fabric and our quality of life for the worse, in addition to the economic blow. So where do we go from here? Forecasts right now are even less reliable than they are usually, because economic forecasts are based on precedent, what's happened in similar circumstances before. What we're seeing now has never happened before. Most of the economists in the monthly Wall Street Journal survey of economists think that the economy is very close to its bottom, but it's going to be a very long road back. One reason is that rent payments, mortgage payments, and student loans are being deferred and not eliminated. And those debts are going to have to be resolved before spending can resume. However, households that have been working during the lockdown have been spending less, and as a result, the savings rate has surged. The question is whether these households are going to have the confidence to spend. Consumer sentiment has crashed, and there's also the threat of a second wave. And if that happens, we could be in deep, deep trouble. And that is what I wanted to share. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Lafayette. Commissioner Boyce has joined us, and so I'll ask Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Boyce if they have any questions of Dr. Lafayette.
Hi, this is Commissioner Boyce. I don't have any questions at this time other than to say that, I think what first of all, good to see you, Dr. Lafayette.
Good to see you.
Certainly Commissioner Brown, as always. I think what you said is a real sort of primer for all of us that are decision makers to remember that we are still uncertain about the bottom. And it's critical for us to be prepared best we can for what this next few months may bring. I was on a call earlier today with Commissioner Brown and some others regarding from the health commissioner. And I asked about the trend. Are we trending down? Are we trending up? Are we, plateauing? What's the situation? And the point that he stressed was that we're lagging, though. That here's the data, but sickness time lags by a couple of weeks. So that in itself doesn't really tell us what our trajectory of trending is yet, because we're just behind. Today we're dealing with data from 2 or 3 weeks ago. And what is the interesting thing is that with all of the protests and whatnot, the exposure could be, we could see another spike, and it could have an impact. The implications could be real for the economy too. So I think this is a good primer for just us all thinking about the next few months, planning for the next few months. I know in my own personal finances, that's how I'm looking at things. I'm preparing for the worst, hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. And so I think that's kind of the message. But that being said, I know I stand with Commissioner Brown and Commissioner O'Grady when we want to find creative ways to support those small businesses that Dr. Lafayette indicated who are the most vulnerable. I'll add that while small businesses are generally most vulnerable, the minority-owned small businesses are even more vulnerable. And so we want to be very thoughtful about what we're doing with resources. And that's why we're doing our best to try to deploy resources in a manner that will support our most vulnerable small businesses, which, as Dr. Lafayette indicated, is a very important part of our economy. So I don't have any questions for you, Dr. Lafayette, just to say thank you. As always, your data and information is very helpful.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Boyce. Commissioners, last year, you, along with our trusted community partners, Rev 1, the Columbus Foundation, and the Columbus Partnership, made an investment in entrepreneurs of color by creating the Franklin County Forward Cities Community Accelerator. Forward Cities is a national program committed to accelerating local inclusive economies by developing underserved and underconnected minority entrepreneurs. Under the leadership of Elsie Johnson, one of the initiative's pilot projects is working to increase the success of neighborhood-level retailers in Whitehall and King Lincoln Bronzeville. Elsie is here to share more. Elsie?
Hi, thank you all, and thank you for the information that's been shared thus far and for this platform. I definitely think this is an important time to be having a conversation, especially as it regards to underconnected minority entrepreneurs, which is who we aim to serve through the Franklin County Forward Cities Community Accelerator Program. So as Keena mentioned, the purpose of the Franklin County Forward Cities program is to create a more inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem, which means that we don't just look at, individual programs, but we really think about how does our entire ecosystem work to support under-resourced, underconnected entrepreneurs. To that end, we actually have been working in two particular neighborhoods in King Lincoln and Whitehall. We used a tool called the Neighborhood Inclusion Compass, which looked at census tracts in Franklin County and measured things like economic need and income, vulnerability to gentrification, presence of a commercial corridor, along with some other factors. And that research is what allowed us to identify the two initial neighborhoods to focus our efforts, or our initial efforts on, which, as I mentioned, are King Lincoln and Whitehall. Keena already shared that we have been running two pilot program, one of which is called the Innovation Sprints program, which was launched earlier this year. And the goal in that program was to support underconnected minority restaurant and retail owners who are serving at the neighborhood level and were anywhere between $150,000 to $250,000 in revenue to help those individuals identify what is their biggest challenge towards growth, and then pull together a team of mentors and resources to help them remove that barrier. So as you might imagine, we were going, the program was chugging right along when COVID-19 hit, and 4 out of the 5 entrepreneurs that we were working very closely with through the pilot program are restaurant entrepreneurs. So we have 4 restaurants and 1 salon. And so, of course, as COVID hit, it immediately had an impact on several of the entrepreneurs, especially those in the restaurant space. So what I'd love to do is just share kind of some of the learnings that we've seen through working closely with entrepreneurs who were, prior to COVID, really poised for growth. That was one of the reasons, and one of the ways that we figured out how to select those entrepreneurs was looking at folks who not only were, beginning to thrive in their neighborhood, but were poised and looking towards growth. And so one of the things that we've seen in working with these folks is that the fact that there really is in many of these neighborhoods a level of awareness of programs that doesn't exist. So the level of awareness for many of the programs that are out there for entrepreneurs is non-existent oftentimes at the neighborhood level. And one of the things that we've also seen to that end is that the folks who do become aware of programs, then there is a layer of trust or mistrust with resources. Many of our entrepreneurs expressed to us, even as we were recruiting for this program, is this just another flyer on the bulletin board? Is this just another kind of, program that isn't really catered to our needs or isn't really going to support us? Many of these individuals have seen initiatives come in and out of their neighborhoods that haven't necessarily been incredibly helpful for them. So I would say one of the biggest things that we've learned is the fact that there needs to be another level of awareness. There needs to be some trust building between entrepreneurial support organizations and entrepreneurs at the neighborhood level. And in addition to not being aware of those resources, overarchingly, our entrepreneurs, we often refer to them as underconnected. Our research before we launched our pilot really showed that one of the largest challenges these entrepreneurs faced was that their own networks, they were not connected to mentors or funding relationships or formal business and sales relationships. And so you can just imagine how COVID has really exacerbated the lack of connection for some of these individuals. Another thing that we've seen with the neighborhood level business owners that are poised for growth but not there yet is that many of these businesses actually employ family members. So that means that, the impact of COVID really is double to many of those families, where you have entire families working on one business, and when that income stops coming in, it really heightens the impact of that crisis. We also have seen with a lot of our entrepreneurs that neighborhood level retailers and restaurants can get really far with informal informal knowledge and informal processes. So some of the folks that we have been working with, despite having the level of success that they have, there are still some things that we may think of as kind of like basic business steps, such as creating a business plan or a formal marketing plan, or looking at your sales numbers for particular data and mining your sales for that type of data. That although these folks have come a long way and have been incredibly creative and resilient in their success thus far, that there is still a need for additional formalized business education. And a lot of these folks don't know what they don't know until that knowledge is needed. And by that time, it can be too late. And we saw this as people were looking to apply for the PPP, some of whom didn't have all of their HR documents in order and things like that, because once again, there is a level of informality that some of the neighborhood level retailers that we work with have seen. And when it comes to interacting with formalized institutions, whether they're financial institutions or otherwise, they do not have the necessary information. And this was really a detriment as resources became available after COVID. Finally, we saw that with a lot of our restaurants, they were not set up to do delivery before COVID. So many neighborhood-based retailers and restaurants are really focused on bringing people into their location, serving at that particular location. If you think of your favorite, neighborhood spots that you love walking to, many of those folks have a delivery option. And so that is one of the that was one of the challenges as well, is that those businesses had to quickly ramp up their operations in order to be able to adjust to the shifting landscape in COVID, regarding COVID. And many of those individuals had challenges in trying to really rapidly alter their business models and not having really great tools to support that expanding level of operations. So those are just some of the lessons that we've learned from our entrepreneurs. But I think overall, the biggest kind of themes that we've seen in our work is that many of these entrepreneurs at the neighborhood level are not
Guadalupe,
connected
where the
to
fuck you get your hair cut? Arby's?
resources. Many of these folks are not connected to the resources.
Are we getting Zoom bomb?
Successful. And I think probably, folks moderating can just scroll down and see who's unmuted and can probably just mute that person, and we'll be good to go. But that is some that I wanted to share, and I'm happy to answer any questions. that folks might
Thank
have.
you. And apologies for the interruption there, Elsie. Commissioner Boyce or Commissioner Brown, any questions for Elsie? Well, thank you, Elsie, much appreciated. And now we are going to move to Mr. Jim Shimmer.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Odd times we're living in these days, and we just have to roll with the punches and keep moving. So I'm going to do this very, very quickly at a very high level. I want to share some information with you all today. Hang on here 1.5 seconds. See, Dean, you told me to do this way. I think this is right. All right. So we have launched.
Jim, I think you muted yourself. Jim. There
Okay.
you go.
All right. So do you all see the screen at all? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I'm working through this, folks. So at any rate, we launched the Columbus Franklin County Small Business Response and Recovery Fund this week, and the commissioners approved our portion of it. So again, very briefly, this is a case where we're going to be working with the city of Columbus and trying to work through a number of issues associated with what we understand that small businesses are going through. What we have right now is a situation where we are going to work with the city and our own programs to provide 3 different areas of funding. Small business recovery grant programs. Very pleased to see that Christy Campbell is on the call today from Rev 1. They have stepped up in a big way to handle this particular program. Secondly, we are looking at small businesses and personal protection equipment, PPE. One of the things our own health department has talked about has been the need for small businesses to be able to access some grant dollars towards this area so that they can keep their customers safe. And of course, we all want our citizens safe. So this was an idea that I think is going to make a lot of sense as we move forward in a very practical way. And finally, we are continuing to do the small business loans, both through ECDI. You will hear from some of this, and you will also understand that Kiva is doing micro business loans. They will be engaged in this as well. So the applications are now being accepted, will continue to be accepted through the close of business of July 17th of 2020, or a date in the future until they're exhausted. Business owners will be working through a collaborative process with a number of different organizations in this entrepreneurial support organization. Those organizations you can see up on the screen. These are the folks that will be helping through the process and getting people through the process to the other side and be able to make sure that the grants are submitted and the loans are submitted in the proper way. I'm sorry, it's just going to be the grants that they will focus on, getting people ready to submit for those particular dollars. We're very pleased about it, and I see that none of this seems to be going right, but at any rate, what I want to tell you is the very most important thing at the very end is where to find out some more information. So if you take a second, write this down, https:// bit.ly/CBUS Recovery Fund. That will get you guided to the right direction that you need to be looking at. So Again, I apologize for the technical problems that we had here. Can't seem to get that working, not in a good way. So at any rate, that's what I have to present this morning or this afternoon. And again, I think it's one of those things that I would just suggest to anybody on the call today. Keep your antenna up, go to the City of Columbus's site. You will find the information that you need both for the city and the county programs. Hook up with a provider and move forward with getting some grant dollars or loan dollars into your small business. And with that, Kina, I will stop. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Much appreciated. And again, kudos to the staff and economic development and planning. Phenomenal job in putting together those $5 million in funding for our small and minority business. Thank you for that note, Lupe, absolutely. And I would like to turn quickly now to Ina Kinney with ECDI.
Good afternoon, everybody, commissioners, Kina, Jim Shimmer, Bill Lafayette, and others. Thank you for having us. I'm actually joined here by Steve Fireman, our president and general counsel, and I'm Ina Kinney. I'm the founder and CEO of ECDI. When the COVID pandemic first started on March 16th, we shortly within the first week of that put together a strategic plan focused on 3 phases. Phase 1 is what I'm going to be talking about today, right now, and then we'll go into phase 2 and 3. As Bill Lafayette mentioned, we don't know what this coronavirus is going to yet bring to us. We know where we are right now. Since beginning of March 16th, ECDI has increased its volume and loan capital by 450%. What that means is we've done $5 million in loans since March 16th through today. I'm going to go ahead and specifically talk about the Franklin County and what we've done in the Franklin County with demographics, loans that we've put out, as well share some specifics on the type of businesses we've helped, okay? So I'm going to go into the share the screen and let's see right here. Doesn't look like it's, hold on a second. I'm experiencing a little bit of a difficulties. Hold on. There it is. Can everybody see it now?
We can, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So since 3/24 through 6/10, we have closed 72 loans. We've used $376,000 from Franklin County loan funds, and we've had different type of loan funds with Franklin County over the years. We have been able to leverage $2.8 million in other funding sources. So the loans that we've done is $376 and $2.8 million. Our volume has increased specifically in Franklin County by 290%. 67% of the businesses that we've assisted are minority businesses, 54 are women-owned, and 39% are low moderate income. And the way we measure low moderate income is 150% of federal poverty guidelines, okay? We've been able to create new jobs, 87, retained 82 jobs. And the geographies represented with the Franklin County focus are because some of the funds were able to be used in the city of Columbus. So Columbus, Powell, Canal, Winchester, Dublin, Grove City, Reynoldsburg, Westerville, and Pickerington. And you see the sectors of businesses that we've been able to assist. As you know, ECDI focuses on Main Street businesses, and I think the fund and what we funded to date represents that specific those specific areas. Going down, is that what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to go.
If I could add, those statistics and those county statistics, I was looking today at when we rolled out our county program, and the date on the initial document that we rolled it out was March 16th. The governor shut things in medical director on March 15th. So I can't emphasize enough how impressed and how great the commissioners have been, how they anticipated what the problems were going to be. We were on the phone with Mr. Schimmer the weekend before the shutdown. And we were able to roll this program out literally on March 16th and start to help triage and save some of these small businesses. So thank you, commissioners, and thank you, Jim.
And I wanted to echo what Steve said. Absolutely. You know, we've been a longtime partner with the Franklin County, with the commissioners, with Jim, with everybody else. And we work throughout the state of Ohio. We have offices headquartered in Columbus, obviously, as you know, but we're in Cleveland, we're in Cincinnati, we're in a lot of other markets as we serve all 88 counties. And bar none, Franklin County was the first at the table and continues to be innovative. And we are so pleased to have you as our partners because it's very important. So now I'm on page 2 of the presentation, and I think it's very important for everybody to note. Let me put my glasses on because I have a hard time seeing here. But and currently, as of today, our pipeline of loans approved is, so this is loans that we've approved but have yet to close, is 689,000, and loans in review of 2.3,335,000. And these are all for Franklin County. So you could see the demand is huge. We continue to see demand increase, especially what happened in the last 2 weeks. We're seeing, you know, not only with the coronavirus and businesses starting to reopen, but also with, you know, a lot of the retail businesses experienced, you know, some breakages and things like that. So we want to be responsible to that as well and responsive to that. Some of the other things that we are worked on for phase 1, which is we call the triage phase of the coronavirus. And initially, when I talked about putting together a strategic plan for it was based on 3 years. We believe, based upon what we're hearing from others in federal government, that this is going to continue for more than 3 years. With that being said, our whole business model is shifting towards addressing the needs of businesses that are going through this and new businesses that are going to be coming out of this, because I think there's a lot of businesses that are going to be pivoting or making different accommodations to ensure that they are staying up with the new economic growth, as well as how the existing businesses are able to provide services under different type of guidelines and the realities. Okay. So during the first phase, when we first started this in March, we've been able to defer loan clients' payments, which is very important, especially for those businesses that have been shut down. We've come up with new loan products, which a couple of them are part of the Franklin County. We've come up with low interest loan products and also grant products throughout the state of Ohio. So we think it's very important to provide business grants to businesses that are not able to pay back the loans. We've also, since we serve a lot of food-based businesses, and that probably represents about close to 30% of our total portfolio of clients. And by the way, we've done about $60 million worth of loans to date, actually more, probably closer to 62 at this point, because in 1 week alone, we did $1 million of new loans. Having said that, one of the things that we've done, understanding that a lot of our food-based businesses were suffering through this and still are, ECDI has provided a couple of our food trucks with $1,000 each that we've raised from either existing ECDI funds or from other sources. In essence, we're providing them with $1,000 each to go out and provide meals to first responders, as well as go into specific neighborhoods and provide healthy food. That to us has been very successful, and we will continue to do the same in our food forts, which also Franklin County has supported over the years. We've also all of our clients in food fort are not paying any rent to us until the end of July, and then we'll reevaluate at that point. So what do we want to?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So where do we want to go from here? Because I think it's very important for us to, right now we're in phase 1, the triage phase. We also understand that this triage phase might last a lot longer than first anticipated. So right now we're dealing with the triage as well as going forth and how do we assist businesses moving forward. We are going to be purchasing, we need to purchase, we made a decision, food trucks that we are going to be able to rent and do long-term leases to our businesses, because a lot of businesses are changing the way that they provide products to they're not, restaurants are not at capacity, right? We don't know if there ever will be the capacity. So we want to be able to meet the businesses where they're at by leasing or renting a food truck. It will allow those businesses that have been thinking about having a bricks and mortar, or for those businesses that want to rehire staff, have other type of options. So that's one of the things that we want to focus on. We also want to expand our food court and our kitchens and things like that. So these are some of the things that we're looking forward towards.
Thank you, Ina. Always on top of it and moving out and supporting low to moderate income entrepreneurs. We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Commissioner Boyce and Commissioner Brown, let me take a moment to make a note that, of course, we have run late with our programming. We hope that everybody can stay with us. I do know that Commissioner Brown has a 2 o'clock appointment. And so, Ina, if you would not mind unsharing your screen.
Oh, of course. Yes,
not a problem. Thank you. And would just like to say to our entrepreneurs, we are ready for you all to begin telling your stories. And so we will begin with thank you to Elsie and Dr. Lafayette, and to Elsie, Ina, and Dr. Lafayette for providing us with that background. Let's move quickly to Ms. Antoinette Parks of Creole Kitchen. She's the CEO there. Thank you, Antoinette. Thank you so much for your patience.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys for having me. Can you hear me?
And thank you.
Oh, okay. Like Ms. Smith said, my name is Antoinette Parks, CEO, Chef Butcher's Creole Kitchen. We are located in the King Lincoln District on Mount Vernon Avenue, right there in the plaza. So I guess I could share, before COVID-19. Oh, thanks, Nick. Before COVID-19 came in, I had a staff, including myself, of 11 people, because we're a small family-owned business. Myself, a sister, brother, and our dad, who's Chef Butcher. So we had 11, and then when COVID-19 hit, I had to actually let go of 5 of my employees, most of my servers, and 1 kitchen staff, because we had to close our dining room down, which is where most of my servers worked. So I guess we got a little lucky by the way we were actually set up, as our dining room was actually set up separate from our carry-out location. So we were able to keep the carry-out location going, and that kind of had a twofold for us. So it really was hard in the beginning. Sales went way down. I want to say over 50% down. But the good thing about it is more and more people were actually finding out about us through this COVID-19 situation. So we actually gained a lot of new customers that were looking for carry-out services only. So we really came through good on that part. We're retaining a lot of our new customers. But looking going forward here, as far as our dining room, I have some concern about that. If we're only able to open at half capacity, my dining room holds 14 tables, so I can only open 7 of them. So I'm a little concerned about how that revenue is actually going to go on that side once we open it back up. But we are one of the restaurants that have been working with Ford Cities before the shutdown. So I'm working with Gita and Dave right now of some new I guess, some new things that we want to bring in, changing of our menus, and they've been giving me some really great ideas here. A lot of people don't know that we cook from scratch every day, and a lot of people don't know our family history. So they gave me great ideas to really bring that out in our menus. So we're changing our menus, and so it's gonna give us the chance to actually come back up new. Over there, a new look, a new culture, to bring in some new ideas. So, you know, during the shutdown, that did actually help us out to do that part. I did get PP funding on the second go around, because first time my application was in there, but that's when it got shut down at that time. So I was actually in queue, and when it came back up, it went through. I was able to get all the information through on the first time, thank God. So I did get my PP funding, and I'd like to thank ECDI too, because I also got a funding loan from them just yesterday. I closed on that, so that's going to help me bring in 2 more people back. So luckily all my staff chose to come back rather than go somewhere else, so I don't have to do a whole bunch of new training of new people. So I'm glad they just stayed there with us. So the funding's truly helping out with us to bring those people back. So for this part of going on, since we gained so many new people, we get a lot of requests to sit down in that dining room. So we're really working on getting that back open, but we just want to get it back open in the right way. So I definitely going to apply for, I got a lot of information on the new grants there, the PPE application. So I got that from Al Edmondson, our president of our association over there, the Mount Vernon District Association. So I'm actually going to complete that today, so I can get in that pool to get some, you know, so we have our staff covered and our customers covered also. But so far, we're really coming back alive, and we're really doing a lot better than what I expected. Yeah,
That's
we're
fantastic news.
Yeah.
Did I hear Commissioner Boyce? I'm sorry. I do have one question for you, Antoinette. How's your supply chain holding up?
They're actually doing really good. I keep, that's the other change I made. I'm really just sticking with certain suppliers to keep liabilities down, because that's going forward. I don't know what's going to happen. And like we say, if we, you know, if another wave come like that, which I was hearing that. So I'm really just sticking with certain suppliers that I've been with. And we've been really working things out. They really work with me. As far as my scent task, for instance, since my dining room is not open, you know, they've agreed to, you know, just hold my account in place or whatnot. But a lot of my suppliers are really good to us. So, and I've been with them for quite a while, so they're working good with me. Yeah.
That's great news. That's great news. Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much for sharing your story. Much appreciated.
Thank you guys too.
Now let's turn to Lisa Gutierrez, Dos Hermanos food truck.
Hi, Kina. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you, the Franklin County Commissioners, for having me. I appreciate this short period of time to be able to let you know how we're doing over here at Dos Hermanos. I am the owner of Dos Hermanos Taco Truck. It started as a small food truck. We now have a stall in the North Market. We're 8 years in business. We have a concession stand in the Greater Columbus Convention Center, Mayfree Stadium, the Buckeye Stadium, and 5 to 6 different guest chef restaurant locations in Nationwide Insurance. So just what I've mentioned right now, I'm sure that you can understand that we have been hit extremely hard from every area, from being a downtown business to operating inside larger downtown corporations to, you know, stadiums not being able and people not being able to gather, you know, due to the mandates and, you know, wanting people to be safe. I do want to say that ECDI has been a longtime community partner for us. They found me very early on in business. I'm sure most of you have heard my story, and I will share with you on a personal note that both Ina and Steve Fireman called me that very first week, that Steve talked about, to say that we are in this together. Don't worry, there's things coming that can help you sustain. I had 21 employees. We laid off 5, and most of the people that work for us are family. My salesperson is my very best friend and maid of honor in my wedding, and she is currently laid off. She will hopefully return back in July. So it's been an emotional roller coaster of trying to keep the staff safe, trying to keep business coming in, trying to find PPE products when the grocery stores are closed and the lines are long, trying to make sure that we can talk to our lenders and make sure that arrangements are made there. You know, we appreciate the abatement with rent here that you've done for the people here at the Food Court and at Food Court 2.0. We have other places that we rent throughout the city where we did not see an abatement of rent, that we saw deferment of rent. And I worry about the second surge that will be coming maybe in October when those deferments are due, and how will we then make those payments? We have pivoted as a business. We have taken our food trucks, which was one of our smaller revenue streams, and put them out into homeowner associations and neighborhoods in New Albany and Dublin. We are still currently working on our project with North Market Bridge Park, and we are very much under construction, and we have received funding again from ECDI to sustain us through that and be able to finish that project and create the jobs that we have promised. Things that I think that our current needs for our business are, we need to be strong on the e-commerce site. We know that if the second wave comes, or even going into the winter months, we are selling food differently. These online delivery services that we've partnered with, and we have partnered with them. We were actually the first restaurant to be on Uber Eats, but there are hefty fees associated with these delivery services, and they do not employ people at Dos Hermanos directly. We're using a third party for delivery. And I can't use Square that already has a high fee to service some of these online orders. I mean, it's not working. The wheel is just not turning. So we need a strong e-commerce site. I'd also like to see some grants for us to be able to join some local chambers of commerce. Yesterday, we joined the Central Ohio African American Chamber of Commerce. We also joined the Dublin Chamber of Commerce, and those two cost me about $1,000 to join. I think there's a lot of value there for me to get out and share our story and tell them about Dos Hermanos, and being a part of other Chamber of Commerces could really help us sustain through this time. But again, having to join these associations and these fees, if they were somewhat waived, reduced, or granted, would be beneficial to all businesses, I believe, especially during this time. And another thing, I think that not only my staff, but probably other small business owners could utilize is maybe some kind of grants or information about health insurance for our staff. I believe that if there is a second wave, people are worried about getting sick. And I need to know how to hopefully be able to get them some kind of insurance that, especially at this time, Dos Hermanos can afford or at least contribute to. And that will help me retain their employment.
Great.
Anything else?
Thank you. Yeah, Lisa, quick question about, since you were already mobile.
Yes.
But you also had what do I want to call it? Not a storefront, because you were in the in North Market, right?
Yes.
You also have had a stand in Ohio Stadium.
Yes.
For football season.
Yes.
So how is the uncertainty around sports, et cetera, how's that impacting your business?
Sure, everything's uncertain at this time, Kina. So I think the pivoting of, the different things we talked about, the strong e-commerce site and the opening in Bridge Park with a strong e-commerce site up there, we don't know if these revenue streams are going to come back. And we did receive PPP money. We also received EIDL. And I just want to thank the Franklin County Board of Commissions for supporting ECDI, because back to what Elsie Johnson mentioned, I wouldn't have been prepared to even fill out those applications if I hadn't had technical assistance from the Women's Business Center here at ECDI to know that I needed a bookkeeper. that I was able to call the tax person and get the numbers to fill out these applications, to know that, that we needed to reach out to our community partners in some of our corporations in which we work. The contracts were in place and they were able to continue to pay us. I mean, had they not paid us, if there was no contracts in place, we would not have survived between the gap of receiving funding during this time of ECDI and the time that COVID started. So that technical assistance that both the ECDI and the Franklin County Commissioners provide to small businesses is so vital and prepared me, if you can even think that you could be prepared for something like this, at least gave me a ground to stand on when I went to enter payroll numbers, to know that I had to use a payroll company, that I had to pay taxes, that I had to pay to the city, has really helped me during this time to be able to at least keep the doors open here at Dos Hermanos.
Fantastic, thank you. And one more quick question, if I may. You mentioned some pivoting that you did. What did you find was the most the most sustainable pivot that you made?
Well, it's interesting. I'm glad you asked, because we were on the food delivery service game early from the North Market. But what we saw is everybody left the downtown area, and those sales actually left very quickly. And I would get on calls like this and they would say, well, isn't the governor's mandate of letting you be able to do delivery sustaining you? And I'm like, no, our people in that 5-mile zone that they deliver to are gone. But ECDI allowed me here at Food for 2.0 to start those same 5 delivery services that we operate in the North Market over here, where it's a food, they call it a food desert on Old Leonard Avenue, and be able to service the community from this new location. So we now run 10 tablets simultaneously, 5 in the North Market and a different 5-mile radius for here at Food for 2.0.
Fantastic, thank you. I'd like to ask the Commissioner Boyce or County Administrator Wilson or Director Schimmer if they have any questions of Lisa.
I do, if I may, and this question will be for Lisa and others. How has your business adjusted to the facts around a new normal, meaning that more and more individuals aren't going to return to their office jobs. Many jobs are being converted to telework permanently. And that's going to change the nature of the lunch flow traffic, for example. Individuals are going to be working out of their homes versus being in the office environments in downtown Columbus, downtown, the Polaris area, all the different areas where we have large numbers of office developments. Now we're going to have people working from at home. So how have you been impacted by that currently, and how are you preparing for the future? I know Uber Eats and DoorDash and those services, you said that the fees are prohibitive or make it difficult to make it profitable to work with individuals that may be at home and ordering food to be delivered to their homes versus leaving their offices at lunchtime.
Well, thank you for the question. We have 2 food trucks and a taco cart. So we take those out. Right now we're partnering with homeowner associations. So they are calling us and they're organizing things for us to do. Come out to their neighborhood and serve, so that people, are spread out, they're socially distanced, and then people don't need to leave that neighborhood. If they're working from home in an afternoon and or evening, they can feed their entire family. So the check averages have been much higher than the lunchtime business, because now when we pull up, they're ordering for mom, dad, and a few of the kids, and it becomes a $60, $70, $80 purchase. So actually, for us, lunchtime has kind of gone by the wayside, which is where we focused on before, and now we've moved to the PMs.
Thank you. That's helpful. How you pivot.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Much appreciated. And now we'll hear from Mr. Byron Woods, Oohs and Ahs Hair Design. Hello, Mr. Woods. Thank you for your patience.
Yes,
thank you for sharing with us today.
First of all, I wanted to thank you guys for allowing me to be on the call. A lot of great information put out. And one thing that was said early on, we spoke of, and what I heard and stood out to me was partnership. this is a situation in our community, in our world, that we have to deal with, and the lack of partnership with the idea of working together has been has caused my business to suffer in the way of not understanding the devastation of the pandemic and what it and how it affected our business starting out. I had a landlord that was asking for his rent when I have 31 employees and I have 3 businesses in his plaza, and we have no income. We were hoping for the PPP to come in and to help us to fend off these bills and challenges that we were having. The challenge for us was that we missed the first wave of PPP. I was in queue like someone else was. When that funding came in, instead of it being on my gross, it was on my net. So that money did not help support a business in the financial rigors of a weekly, monthly cost. And as a sole owner of 3 businesses, I would have hoped to have partnered with my landlord with an understanding that maybe the payments could be deferred, or maybe we could work on trying to work through this time of trying to get people back to our shop feeling safe. Like now, I've been in business now for like 2 months, and the whole thing is just trying to get workers back into the workforce, but then also getting customers to feel safe to come and get a service, and it takes time. So we have to have partnership. We have to have the landlords and the leasors and the lessees working together for the community. And I feel like my particular landlord is from Pennsylvania. So with this landmark property, this strip mall, it was almost like he was out of touch with what was going on. So I was hoping that there could be things in place that would help in those situations where there's a disconnect. You know, there was expectations for us as lessees that didn't match the pandemic challenge. So going forward, I would hope that there would be some type of partnership that we can continue to be in business, but also with an understanding that we may have a second wave. There may not be 30 operators coming back. We may have to work on a staff of 20 or 15 with the hopes of regaining the momentum of our business that we had before. I'm very thankful of ECDI. They've helped me develop my business through the years. I've opened 3 barbershops and a nail salon with the help of ECDI. And then as of recent, they also helped me with that new loan. I don't know the name of it, but they've helped me with that loan. I'm looking at the PPE grant as well. But I just would hope that our city would have something that could help us to partner with these landlords that don't see the big picture. So many other businesses said they deferred the months that we were out of work, and it makes sense. But when you don't have that, it's just an added stress to what's already going on in your world. And I'll listen to whatever is in place to help us in that way, and I'll just back off of it from there.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Much appreciated. Thank you for sharing that story, and thank you for sharing some of your frustration as well. Where are you today? We understand that you need more partners. First, let me defer to Commissioner Boyce. Commissioner Boyce, do you have any questions for Mr. Woods? I'm so engrossed. I'm just like, okay. I apologize.
Hey, well, first of all, let me say to everybody that's on today, I'm so glad that we're in full engagement here. This kind of thing that's helpful. You know, let me start by saying this, that the COVID-19 environment is something that none of us were A, prepared for, or B, had ever dealt with. And when you're dealing with a global pandemic that essentially shuts down movement of people, there's just the layer after layer after layer of effect. And so we haven't even reconciled the stoppage of work and its impact on tax collection for the third and fourth quarter of this year. And I think that's another story that'll have to be told, and there will be a real impact to the public on that. That's from my own perspective. And so I hear you very loud and clear about the dynamics and the rent and all those things. So a couple of things I'd say to the gentleman who just spoke. One, you asked for help from the city, and I just want to be clear, there's two different things going on here. The city has their program and the county has ours. And yes, we collaborate to put it together, but keep in mind, I guess it would depend on, where your business is. And that's why we focus on, organizations like ECDI, because they can just kind of regionally help. We put all our money in a pot and kind of let it work. But everyone's having this challenge, because the landowner that rents his property to you has a mortgage, and that person is paying that mortgage. And so what we really got to do is we have to find ways to really help people pay the rent or pay the mortgage, because even if they give you relief, that somebody's got to still pay that mortgage. And so it's my hope that the resource that we put in place, and we know it's not enough, we'll probably have to come back for another round of contribution, I would guess, and I'd be supportive of that, very much so. What we put in so far, I know it's not enough. It's a big county, and so we need more. But to your point, sir, we just need to pay the rent. We need to help people get through at least a couple of months of rent payments, because the landlords, we'll hear from them. And every time that, we ask folks to step up and just hold on, that would have been helpful coming from Congress. If they had done something to, instead of sending everyone a $1,200 stimulus, what they should have done was invested that in mortgage payments to put a hold on folks who paying for the residential mortgage or their business, rental or whatever. That would have been better money spent. So I think to take your concerns back to the Board of Commissioners to say that we just need to continue to find money that will help support business owners' rent, so that you can pay your rent and your landlord can pay his or her mortgage. Because we got to keep that train going. And I just think I think what you identified is really the crux of the matter when it comes to keeping our small businesses afloat. I also happen to be a small business owner myself, and I can tell you it's a struggle everywhere. I mean, and I can't even qualify for money because being a decision maker, my businesses can't access those money. So I get what you're saying, and I would take your advice back to the BOC, Keena, and what we need to do is put more money into rental assistance. I mean, that's what I heard loud and clear. And I apologize. I've got like 3 of these calls going on at once. Somehow I got overbooked here. And so I can only stay on for about another 5 minutes, and then I've got to get on this other call because I'm behind as it is. So I'll stay on and maybe listen to another question or something, but then I'm gonna have to jump off.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let's head to Deontay Johnson, then we'll do Rachel, and then we'll do Miss Winnie.
Hello. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks for having me. I'm Deontay Johnson, owner of Soul Classics in the Short North. We've been in the Short North area since about 2006, so we've been around for a while. So I'll keep it as quick as possible. However, I do have a couple of things to share and then a couple of concerns. I think people are faced with, obviously, we're all faced with unprecedented times. Like this COVID stuff, it came swiftly and it's impacted us all in a dramatic fashion. I think that there's a few things that have caused barriers that have been hard to hurdle. We've heard about the rent situation. That's been big on my plate. You have landlords who aren't being as lenient as, you feel like they should be or understanding, but I also understand that they have their own set of expenses and livelihoods as well. Then you have, for me, I deal with a lot of national vendors. So I'm dealing with different laws and different things in other states that have affected, the inventory that we're used to bringing in, to where either it's still coming when we were closed, or it's not coming at all. And, each brand carries its own set of restrictions, guidelines, and, how they decide to handle it. Most of these brands aren't pushing back invoicing. Like there's no forgiveness. So these bills are still due. So one of the biggest issues that I ran into early was we weren't fully, we have an online business. However, we were not fully utilizing or maximizing SEO capabilities and things like that. So when we were forced to close, we were not bringing in the day-to-day revenue that we needed in order to sort of survive. I think that the biggest obstacle that a lot of us small businesses face are, we're told to pivot. We understand that. However, it became very, dang near impossible when you're trying to put out fires. You're trying to learn about the resources out there, and you're trying to, maximize your business. So it became extremely difficult. For me, I was able to get the first round of PPP, but that's strictly because my wife's a CPA. She stayed on top of it. She watches CNN every single day. So, we made sure we didn't miss a beat. However, a big reason why I was able to get the PPP was because I banked with Huntington, and they did a very good job at reaching out personally. Whereas my wife banks with Chase, and she didn't get it. She didn't receive anything the first go around. So, I think it, kind of depends on relationship, and, some people are able to gain it. Most of us were not. So for me, the PPP, the biggest issue that I have with it is that there have been so many changes, especially as of recently, that it didn't turn out to be as effective as it needed to be. We would have rather, like, when it originally came out, we had those guidelines of, how long we had to spend it, what it could be used on. I think it was like 75-25 between payroll and rent. So we were forced to kind of, even though we weren't selling, we weren't really doing great online, we couldn't open up in store, we brought a lot of employees back just so that way they didn't have to file unemployment. We brought these guys back. We were paying them to do nothing, essentially. And now that this PPP has run out, we're being told that we could have stretched it out over months, where we could have had a guy or two guys in there fulfilling orders and receiving packages. We had 3 or 4, we're doubling up where we didn't have to. So all this stuff has kind of come out on the tail end of it, to where it's like, okay, so now that you've used it, we're hearing about a second wave, and we're fearful that we won't be able to reapply for anything of the sort. We weren't able to use it for rent, and we essentially just kind of paid it where it wasn't really needed. What do you do from this point on? Like, and what other ways do you can you receive resources? My second issue with what's going on is I speak for a lot of small businesses who, like I said, don't share the same scenario, home scenario or accounting, or don't have an accountant at all. I heard it stated a few times. There's a lot of us out here that just do not have the time to prioritize finding out all this information and what's real versus what's fraudulent. What we can do and how we can do it. So by the time we find out about something or it's time to apply, we're usually on the back burner. We're last to apply, we're last to receive it, and we don't get a fair shot of utilizing it. So, I think that there should be some type of middle program to where, we can, if there was a grant to help out more organizations that were going to be that resource or that middleman to make sure that people they're finding the businesses first and foremost, and then finding the guy who's struggling because he's the owner operator and he really doesn't have time to watch TV because he's trying to make sure that he can make his ends meet. They're coming out to find us, and they're making sure that they're filling out the application for us. They're doing those different type of things or walking us through it. But if you're relying on the small business owners to go out there and be able to seek this information and do it and put out the fires, I mean, we're going to be running in place, in my opinion. I really just think that just physical time is very limited, and it gets very stressful when you're trying to find out, what's real versus what's fake. Next, I think there's certain limitations on this new round of what we're we're due to, or not due to receive, but possibly receive, like from the PPE grant and things like that. So my issue with the PPE grant is that it's $5,000, you know, and it's for PPE equipment. We had a very hard time finding equipment initially. However, we're a clothing and shoe store. We could buy a couple of bottles and survive because we can only let, you know, 2 or 3 people in at the shop at a time. We've been able to find things on Amazon and stuff like that. So we technically don't need $5,000 to do that. However, why wouldn't rebuilding your website count as that? If you're doing something to make sure people can stay at home and practice safe distancing, that should qualify, in my opinion, as the same thing. You know, using sanitizer is great, but keeping somebody at home and being able to order and have it delivered is even better. So I just think that there are certain limitations, and I get it. It's because, you know, you want people using it responsibly. However, we're in a very strange time. So I just think that certain limitations have to be lifted off of things in order to make sure, or it being more inclusive to what different shops need. Like, there may be people that need $5,000 worth of PPE. I'm not one of them. So it's not going to help me build my site to make sure that I'm selling this inventory that I have coming in. And then, and I think that's being fair on time. I don't want to harp on too much more. However, I just think that we need to make sure that we are being a community first and foremost. Like, I hear the word partnerships. I hear the different things that we're saying. I just think that we have to be able to reach out and actually physically go and talk to different business owners and figure out what they need as individuals, so that way we're not making blanket decisions. So if we could be a community and we could raise money, we can raise money for this person and you know, help them out, then great. But if we're not using this to be an actual physical piece of the community and help each other, then, you know, it's all in vain, in my opinion.
Thank you, Deontay. Thank you very much. Any questions for Deontay from the commissioner or Mr. County Administrator or Jim Shimmer, our Director of EDP?
No, I'm just hearing from Mr. Johnson that flexibility is important when we build these programs. We know PPE is part of what's the new normal, but e-commerce and being able to leverage e-commerce is very important. And if you can go from survival under these circumstances to thriving with a rebuilt website for e-commerce, that makes all the sense in the world to me. So that's why we wanted to have these listening sessions to be able to inform us as we look at these policies. And I'm hearing loud and clearly as well that commercial rent support is important. We've made significant investments in residential rent supports in foreclosure prevention. But as Commissioner Boyce outlined, the small business is on one end of the pipe, and the property owner has a mortgage, and then the mortgage is tied to bonds that maybe been held somewhere. So it's all a chain. You got to keep the dots connected.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Deontay, I really appreciate that. That was good advice. And I know, Winnie, you had some great stuff as well. And it's good to hear from all of you. It's sometimes like, you know, you're running your business and you're doing your stuff. And I think about it because, you know, we're sort of running our business too, but you are our business. So we want to make certain that we, you know, and Keena, thank you for getting this session put together. That's the stuff we want to hear more of. And then I think one of the things that I will say I'm really pleased about is the technical assistance that's available to anybody who would like to try and go ahead for a grant or a loan. And you can partner with some folks now to be able to do that. So I think that's going to go a long way to be able to help deal with this. But, you know, I think it's just an evolving situation too, you know, and, you know, the commercial rent support stuff, gosh, who knows? Maybe it's not, it was important early on, but maybe it's going to be more important in month 6 or something like that, you know? So we'll think about that and give that a good thought and, you know, try to explore some avenues along that. But I just want to thank all of you personally for taking the time to talk a little bit more about it.
Thank you. And we are running up. I do understand how time is, we are already over. I want to thank you guys for your patience and thank you for hanging with us. We have two more folks that we definitely want to give them their time. Appreciate them hanging in there, and that's Rachel and Miss Winnie. So we will go to Miss Rachel, and then we will go to, and Miss Winnie, please forgive me for calling you Miss Winnie, but I do not want to mispronounce your last name. So if you will do that when we get to you, that would be awesome. So first we'll start with Rachel.
Well, hello there. I just wanted to welcome you to the face of what you would be seeing if you're coming to my office for massage therapy. I'm not going to keep the PP on during this whole presentation because it's kind of hard to hear, but as to what you would normally see, which would be a smiling face and a welcome, it's really hard to hear and to create that moment when you first meet a client, just due to some of the changes and the impacts that the COVID has really changed, even from just the initial hello, welcome to my office. We've heard a lot today about the numbers and a lot about how it's affecting the bottom line for our businesses, but a lot about what I do is touch-based, being a massage therapist. I'm the owner of Mindful Moments Massage, and it's a massage and cryotherapy office, which is dedicated to serving the community by restoring the function of the body, relaxing the mind, and rejuvenating the skin. We have secondary services, including cryo skin, and we are pivoting to add Reiki and yoga for overall wellness of the whole person. I'm an army of one right now who works in both the front of the house and the back of the house. So I hear you, gentlemen who was speaking earlier about how we really just don't have the resources to be on the news 24/7 and to keep up with how things are changing. This has definitely been a huge impact on my business, and my office, which is located here in Gahanna. At the beginning of March, it came in very, very smoothly for me. I was speaking to a local gym owner about staffing his gym with massage therapists. I was actually also speaking with an investor about purchasing some equipment. As I mentioned, I do something called cryoskin, which is cool contouring, body contouring. And I had doubled my sales numbers from the previous year, and that was really exciting. When the COVID orders came down, it changed the conversations between me and my customers from, hey, I'm really excited to see you when you come in, to, I'm unfortunately going to have to cancel your appointments and close my office for the foreseeable future. It was absolutely unimaginable for me. I was all of a sudden completely shut down, and as I rely on my own income as my sole source of income, I was immediately unemployed, like so many other Ohioans. And I began the process of trying to file for the regular unemployment after hearing different takes and different news outlets and how the orders were going to be coming down to allow those of us who are self-employed to receive unemployment. I actually didn't receive any assistance from the PP, the Paycheck Protection Program, and I did not receive the self-unemployment until about 60 days after my office was shut down, which was a huge, huge impact on us. As I said before, like I said, this is my only form of income, and it really changed a lot. What was also even more very impactful for me was the amount of patients that I had calling me and asking if there was any way I could come to them and work on them in their home. And unfortunately, I had to tell people that I've been working with sometimes for a couple of years now, that I wasn't able to help them because I could put my license at risk, and I could also put my health at risk. As someone who's also a business owner, I'm also immunocompromised because I have asthma, so I had to be extremely careful not to take any unnecessary risks or to put my licensure or my business at risk. So that having been said, I'm just dealing with the different media outlets to try to figure out what my next steps were. And I do believe that I am a person that is not as connected to different organizations. A friend of mine actually put the Women's Small Business Accelerator on my radar a couple weeks ago, and I reached out and started working with that organization. I would like to have the opportunity to figure out what grants might be available to me, as I have spent a majority of my own funds from my office to purchase these, thermometers, the face masks, and all the other PPE that are required, as well as some technical things that I upgraded, including a new CR software that will help prompt patients to fill out the questionnaire that is required for every patient as they come through the door. My numbers have definitely been impacted from June 1st to the 10th of last year. I was at 1,450, and I'm now at only 417 in gross sales thus far. A lot of my clients are still telling me that they're too scared to come get services here in my office because they're very concerned that there's going to be a second wave of the virus. And as someone who, like I said, is immunocompromised, I completely understand the position. I have a lot on my plate right now. A lot of us do. And I'm just trying to figure out what the best routes are for myself and for my clients and for our future here. I still do believe that where there's a will is a way, that there are a lot of needs for my business right now. And I'm greatly in need of assistance for marketing to help let people know that I am open and I am here and I'm happy to help. I also would love some technical assistance in coming up with different revenue streams that I could explore, perhaps setting up an online presence for a shop where people could do some wellness at home activities while we get through this. So I will be seeking out those services that were mentioned earlier.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm sorry, Rachel. I apologize.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. I appreciate everything that has been said here today. And I just wanted to reiterate that a lot of us are in the same boat in that we're all struggling. A lot of us are struggling with the balance of trying to figure out what applies to me, what doesn't apply to me. Can I get this loan? Can I get this loan? And if I do get this loan, how do I pay myself? My hope is that I'll be able to soon employ other massage therapists, because I've watched a lot of them struggle in I'm in a few different support groups. And I know that there are people out there that are going to need our services and our help. So being able to long-term set up some goals I have some goals set up for a mentorship program between massage therapists who've been at this for a while and people who are coming into the field, as a lot of those individuals who are in school right now didn't get a lot of hands-on at the very end or as many opportunities to work with the public. So I have a lot of goals that I'm pursuing towards to help serve the community and also to keep my business alive. Appreciate that. And as we're speaking, I have a patient that should be coming in right now. So please excuse me if I take off just a moment.
Thank you so much for waiting. Appreciate it. Marlise will be in touch to help you with some of those questions that you have about grants, etc.
I really appreciate this information, being a part of this, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. And now, Ms. Winnie, you are our final speaker for today. Thank you so much for your patience and understanding. Thank you. Very much appreciated.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, if I knew I was going to be last, I mean, some of it I keep getting disconnected, so I don't want to miss everybody's good advice and struggle and stuff like that. And then I keep trying to come in and anyway, but I'm here, and thank you for arranging this and thank you for having me. My name is Winnie, and I have owned Flavor 91, and then I have also a hair salon, Wintana Salon. So I run Flavor 91 with my children. It's family owned. Everything we have here is 100% grass-fed, non-GMO, non-antibiotic. We locally sourced from Ohio Farm. Everything is made from scratch in the house. And it's like we season it we're from Ethiopia, so our seasoning we use is Ethiopian seasoning to our flavors. So it's American fare with Ethiopian flair. So what happened with this pandemic is it just like everybody struggle. We struggle, and the only a good thing that I have seen with this pandemic is without support of the community. Our restaurant is community based. So a lot of people wanted to be there for us, to support us. Our business was like 80% down, but some of our employees who doesn't have a second income, we tried to pay them while they were at home, because I mean, how they gonna survive? Me and my children was working the whole time, and we applied for the PPP. It was taking forever, and we just got approved like a couple of weeks ago. But it's like everybody's situation is, you can't catch up with all the news. You try to apply, it's just hard time. You can't get through. And right now, I don't even know about this PPE that you guys providing, which I'm grateful to hear about it, and I'm gonna look into it. But we try to apply for different grants all the time, and it's just you can't get through. Some of the system is just either it's overwhelmed, or there's a lot of qualification that's required. Even for the the paycheck protection, we applied it for the first one, the second one. I mean, we've been like, it was like a full-time job itself. So fortunate enough, I own my building, and so I don't have to be pushed by landlord or the rent. I mean, I had to struggle with my mortgage, but at least I don't have anybody that I have to deal with the rent. But I have tenants that's renting from me next door. They have a tattoo shop. They were shut down. So I had to tell them, like, I will push your rent for you guys for May and June. You know, you pay me whenever you open. At least I wanted to see, I want to help them as much as I can, so they don't worry about losing their business, because they was a previous owner. They finished their lease in February, and then the new tenant, they just take over in January. They only opened for about a month, and they got shut down. So they wanted to pay, but I could not see how they're going to do it. So I told them, I will push your rent for May and June. I will pay the utility myself. You don't have to worry about utility because they're not working. So they was very happy about that. And I'm grateful I can be able to do that for my fellow small business owners, small business trying to open their own business, excited first time, and then this come and shut them down. So this is what I see the experience. And when we was doing helping healthcare workers, was donating food, it was people calling. They don't even know. I've never been here, but I want to help the healthcare workers, and they want to donate food. They want to donate money. And I remember one time this lady called, never been here. She said she called and want to donate $50 toward the donation for the healthcare workers. So what I have seen from my experience from this pandemic is that validated for us that a community-based restaurant, and people wanted to come in, even if they cannot afford to buy any food, they call and check on us. Are you guys doing okay? Are you guys going to stay open in business? And I'm grateful also for Franklin County Commissioner, Commissioner O'Grady. He also reached out to us. And so overall, the only thing right now I'm worried about is if the second wave came, we're fully not open right now, because the requirement that was sent to us to open as a full sit-down restaurant, you have to have 6 feet distance, and also 25% of our capacity. That, like for us, we're 99%. We can hold people about 99 or to 80 people that we can hold here. So when you do 25%, we're gonna only dining for about 20 or 30 people. And then what happened when people come? We're gonna tell them like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't take you. We're full," but the restaurant's empty at the same time. Then it's required for us to ask to wear a mask, and then they will take it out temporarily while they're eating. Another requirement that was sent to us by the uh, the health guidance that sent us by the restaurant. Uh, so we need to, if somebody's going to come in a group, they have to live in the same household. So I have to ask all this question for somebody to come and enjoy their meal. So we don't see, we cannot be able to do that. So right now, as we're only doing takeout, we're not open fully. We're considering to do reservation only to come and dine in. And the only dilemma we have with that is we had about 10 employees. We only got 2 people came back. So we're hiring, we're trying to look for more people. And so the only thing is you don't know which way to go. We stand still. If we open, we don't have enough staff. And then also all the regulation that was given to us. The people come without mask. Are we going to tell them we can't take you? I mean, we let some people come in because we want to make every penny that we can. We've been closed for 3 months. And at the same time, while even though we was doing takeout, because we don't have a drive-through, that didn't help us either. And some people are afraid to come in to pick up their food. But a lot of people, the only thing I am grateful is for the community. A lot of people went out of their way to be there for us, to support us. They want to make sure that we stay in business. So that's my experience with this pandemic.
Thank you.
I learned so many things about people. There's a lot of I'm grateful for this community. And I also, what the Franklin County is doing it's really good. So appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your story. So appreciative of you sharing it with us. It's so important for us to hear from our entrepreneurs directly. The numbers are one thing, but to actually see your faces and hear your wins and also, sharing your frustrations with us. It really will help us inform our programs going forward. Over and over again, I hear mentoring, I hear relationships, I hear collaboration, and it seems as if, and maybe my colleagues might have something to add before we sign off, but it seems like strengthening the ecosystem so that we have more collaboration. I love the part about, we are busy running around trying to put out fires, and then we have to sit down and try to figure out all this other stuff, it is a super stressful time, and we want to be here to support you. I know all of my colleagues, we appreciate the kudos. We really are trying to be there for you. Many of you know Marlise, and please always reach out to her, always reach out to EDP staff, call us, email us. It's super important that we keep a pulse and that that we want to hear from you personally about what it is that you're going through, because it's super important. I'll leave the last words to my county administrator as well as Director Shimmer, but just know that I am grateful, and I'm super, super grateful for everybody that has stayed on for almost 2 hours. So thank you so much. And Dean Hindenlang, thank you so, so much. I know you have other things to do, but thank you for helping us manage. And Carla Wallace as well. She's behind the scenes doing her thing. Tyler Lowry helped us out with this. And so I'm going to leave the last words to Jim and to Ken. And why don't you go first, and then we'll leave the last word to Ken.
Jim?
All I have to say is always forward. You just got to keep at it. And you guys are our business. So thanks again.
Yeah, I echo that, Director Shimmer. this information that we're receiving in these 3 listening sessions, that this is the first one. We led off with retail because retail is the backbone of Franklin County's revenue structure that provides funding for all of the critical services that we're able to provide for each and every resident of Franklin County. I want you all to know that we're listening. And this informs us to be able to, within the laws that we're working within, to provide the best programs and produce the best policy that truly works for the residents. So I want you all to know that your businesses are important to us. And we realize that without you all and the strength of your businesses, they add to the fabric in the communities in which you work every day. So as Deputy Administrator Smith indicated, we want to be a resource. Reach out to our small and emerging business staff. Reach out to Director Shimmer and his team at Economic Development and Planning. They are truly the laboratory where the economic development policy is built. And it gives me the ability to look at these ideals and carry these ideals forward from county administration and working under the leadership of the Board of Commissioners. And the 3 commissioners are focused on how we recover as we progress through this pandemic, and how do we thrive as a community, because we're committed to inclusion in every way and broadening our base as far as benefit and the creation of wealth in Franklin County. So thank you all for what you do every day, and we'll be here for you. So please keep in touch with us as far as what your needs are, and tell us what we're doing right. That helps us as well, so we know where to invest more as funds become available.
Thank you, King. A special shout out to Mr. Woods. We see you. We see you with the edge up. That's awesome. Appreciate you. Take care, everybody. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Provide no tight fades.
Providing the tight fade. Absolutely. Thank you.